From Trump's $4.5 million payday to Kari Lake wanting to incite Capitol Hill Riot 2.0, we've got a lot to discuss. This is Dustin. Welcome to A Voice in the Middle. Let's get after it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me here today. That is my cat, Aslan, in the background, who can open doors and just open that open. Pardon the dirty hallway in the back. But I hope y'all are having a great Monday. Um, Man, lots happened over this weekend and over since Friday, and I made my last video. Let's start first and foremost with the Trump NFTs. Now, I'm not even going to take the joy and the pleasure away from you if you have not heard about the Trump NFTs, if you have not seen the Trump NFTs of putting one up on here. Just Google search Trump NFTs, switch to image, and enjoy just a great laugh. So Trump submitted some NFTs over the weekend. They sold out in about 3 hours at $100 per, and there was 45,000 of them sold. So he essentially stole and swindled $4.5 million from his lunatic followers. Yeah, like you can't make this up. People literally wanted to see Trump as Superman and decided he was worth $4.5 million. Oh, and let's not forget, he self-declared himself the greatest president ever, better than Washington, better than Lincoln. Well, I don't recall Lincoln or Washington ever being taken up potentially to the Department of Justice for criminal charges against the riot that you did help instigate and start, which, breaking news, that just occurred. The January 6th committee has referred charges to the Department of Justice. And we'll see how that plays out. Of course, my fellow members and conspiracy theorists of the far right that have no common sense are going to tell you this is nothing but a political witch hunt. I will say this in first and foremost. If Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or Joe Biden had turned around and told people, don't accept an election, do whatever it takes, and people had stormed Capitol Hill, you can promise you a Republican-led committee would be pushing for charges as well. Let's just be honest about that, right? Whether the charges are justified, whether they'll go through it, different question altogether. What sort of criminal prosecution could happen of that, total other discussion we can have. But let's be honest, Republicans would have put up a Democrat presidential or candidate or former president as well for charges if they had the ability to do so for political theater. So whether this is justified or not, both sides would have done it. And then in local news here in Arizona, I just want to talk about Kari Lake and Fincham and the insanity that continues here in my state by this new Republican establishment. And make no mistake, this is a new establishment. See, when Trump went to go drain the swamp, he wanted to drain the swamp so he could fill it with his own swamp. And that's essentially what's happened. Is he said, this establishment has gone very, very poorly for us. It's not good. It's not good for our country. We're going to drain all the corruption out so that I can put a bunch of conspiracy theorists and wackos into office. And that's essentially what's occurred. Look, the more I read the court briefings and the lawsuits, the more I'm just shocked about the fact there is no evidence. There's no concrete evidence whatsoever. In fact, a lot of the evidence points to the contrary. In this lawsuit that was brought up today, that the judge is taking the dismissal under advisement, is the fact that all these voters were disenfranchised, yet you don't have any reports of disenfranchisement. You do have some people that waited long in lines, but when Trump was running for the very first time, I remember very, very clearly my wife and I in line still to cast our primary vote. And Trump was already declared the nominee from Arizona before we even got a chance to vote. Long lines have happened for a very long time. I wasn't disenfranchised. I still was able to vote. Now, I was mixed up between, I was a toss up between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump at the time, but I still was able to vote. Did my vote matter whatsoever, one way or another? At that point? No. Um, but was I disenfranchised just because an outcome had already occurred because I already knew the outcome? No. I still got to vote. Voted late, they still took my vote, but I still got to vote. And sometimes you have to wait in lines. I mean, I don't remember the last time I went to Disney, and because I had to wait 3 hours to go on a roller coaster, I turned around and said, "Hey, Disney, you disenfranchised my ticket that for admission that I purchased. I want my money back, please." And if you wait to the last minute, or if you don't vote by mail, or you don't vote early, that is your choice. I'm not saying you have to, but especially here in Arizona, when you have the largest county in the United States, Maricopa, if you wait till the end of the day, guess what? It's going to take you a while. You can choose to go in person, but that's your choice. Arizona has other ways that you can vote, and that's totally fine. And the other thing with the lawsuit, as I go into that, which makes me laugh, is this talk that they don't want machine counts, they want hand counts. Yet they're also complaining that the counting process took too long, that it's fraudulent, and that somehow hand counts would make it be quicker and shorter and less fraudulent. I mean, let's be honest. Let's take fraud out of the equation. Let's just put human error into it. Where is human error more likely to occur? After someone's been looking at ballots for 8 hours straight, tabulating them and submitting the results, and finally getting one little tick wrong on their tally count, or glancing at it and suddenly in their mind misreading which person was on which line, and get like, which is more likely for an inaccurate vote to actually occur? Would it be through a hand count process or a machine count process? I'm going to vote hand count. But what amazes me with all this is I have really come to a conclusion that the Magnaites, Trump, Kari Lake, all these other people, they are either completely devoid of reality, completely delusional, or they're complete pathological liars. And both of those should scare every single person, and that should make them all unfit to run for office in the future. The idea that Trump could even possibly be president again just shocks me. Because you have to either be a pathological liar, that you know the information you are providing people is not real, it's not correct, it's not based by any facts, by any sort of research, by any sort of evidence that has been shown. In fact, every time along the way since 2020, an area has been disproven and different conspiracy theory has popped up to, this is how fraud occurred, and now we're going to follow this trail, right? Is initially it was fraud occurred because X occurred. Well, we proved that didn't happen, so that was fraud occurred because Y occurred. And it continued to shift and shift and shift. So you either know that's not the case, and you're deliberately instilling fear into people and to mistrust the election process, and to eventually force people that they will eventually take matters into their own hands because they are so convinced by you that you should be the rightful president, or you are so delusional that the fact you can actually believe that these facts are facts absolutely terrifies me. And Kari Lake is in the exact same boat. The statement she made over the weekend, considering basically calling people to action, that you don't mess with her, that the election was stolen and she's going to do everything she can to prove it and to win it, and she's the rightful governor, that should scare people. The fact that she is that either convinced or she is that power hungry that she would blatantly lie to people that she actually won the governor race. And I know what all the other critics in my district are going to say. They're going to say, Dustin, you're naive, you're young. So a couple things. I am young, not as young as what a lot of them think. 41, was blessed with a very young looking face and voice, and thank God for that. It's the reason I have a beautiful wife that is 8 years younger than me. I'm not as young as they think, and I passed math class, and I passed common sense class. So to all those people that say, oh, Dustin, you're just naive. Well, no, you're basing this on an Arizona that doesn't exist anymore. And the reality is, I don't know if this Arizona ever really did exist. Because who was the most popular Senate candidate constantly and consistently in Arizona? It was John McCain, who was accused of being a rhino, who was accused of not actually being a Republican, not being a true conservative, yet he won pretty handedly in Arizona consistently because he was independent in nature. See, I actually don't think this is a huge shift that's occurred in Arizona. I think what actually occurred is Arizona has always been more purple in nature, even if it was maybe 55% Republican, 45% Democrat. I think within that range of Republicans, it's always been more middle right to centrist. And I think what's actually occurred is you failed to realize Arizona was purple and you tried to force it to this extreme bright, dark red. And once that's occurred, you pushed a lot of the voter base away. But hey, what do I don't know? Or what do I know? That just would make more common sense that it's not that somehow the greatest conspiracy ever twice has occurred with no legitimate whistleblowers, with no legitimate proof. The only smoking guns you find are one or two anomalies, which realistically, if the fraud occurred at the level that you say it had, it should have occurred like crazy. It should be all over the place. And yet it's mysteriously not. So anyway, my name is Dustin. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy someone that's actually sensible and not crazy. And I will see you again soon. God bless. Have a great one. And remember, sometimes the truth isn't on the right or the left. It's right there in the middle. Take care.